work in some places.
No, I said I like the action.
There's hotspots in you know, right now New York City, California, we've seen Washington, New Orleans seems to be in trouble, and some other places seem to be coming up.
So what do you mean by you like the
there's places where they haven't seen so much.
Action.
Are you confident that the places that haven't had a lot of reported cases,
so
that's
just
not a question of testing? Is it a question of
I like the action?
The virus isn't there?
Like my voice.
Well, it's probably a combination of both, but I think it's more.
I said I like the action.
My voice can get deeper when my voice just want to get deep.
That we've seen in cities like New York, and just the point about those areas that have low levels, like they're about, I think 19 out of 50 states have 200 cases or less in a state. That's the time, if you're going to do anything in those places, you've got to be very aggressive in identification, isolation, contact tracing. When people are infected, get them out of society, put them in a way where they're isolated, and then trace the others. That's all containment. You don't want to get to the point where you have to start mitigating. So what we're talking about is trying to get to the point where we don't allow these issues to come up to the point of needing mitigation. But in order to do that, as I've said, and as Dr. Burke said, you need to get the data, and you need to act on the data. Because if it's escalating, there's no way you want to tone down. You want to be able to suppress what's there while it's at a low level.
So you want to see more testing, especially in places where you know, they have low numbers of cases, in order to gather data. You know, are there people gathering that data? Are they doing the contact tracing in states that have less than 200 cases?
Well, you know, today the president wrote a letter to the governors talking about sort of a new approach to this kind of county by county not mitigation, but contact tracing, where what you actually do is you do testing there. Now, that's going to be through the public health apparatus, which the CDC has networks that are really for flu surveillance, and you can adapt those networks to be coronavirus.
No, not really, but I do got the big for you.
Then you could plug in the identification, isolation, and contact tracing. Again, it's going to attempt to do that. I hope they'll be successful, but that's what the plan is, to use that network to do the kind of surveillance we've done with flu.
You know, Dr. Fauci, so we have, you know, sort of 3 months worth of data now, 150 or so countries, I think, where this virus has been present.
Yo,
I just told you have enough data that we really can start to set a timeline. I know you say that the virus will dictate the timeline.
Do you like it?
But, you know, we must know a lot more now than we did even a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, we do know a lot more now than we did a couple of weeks ago, but the one thing that's still a little bit of a black box, and that's the thing that influences the modeling that we do, is that what is the relative percentage of really asymptomatic infection? Because that influences everything. That influences transmission, that influences contact tracing, and that certainly influences the diameter of the models that you use.
Yeah, I'm heading up to the
model how you do things, you really have to have the data of know what you're dealing with. That's why it's so important to do that. Now that we have so many more tests available, we've really got to get out there and do that.
Yeah, people
I want to get to a viewer questions, but I just want to quickly follow up on the question we were talking about before, which is in those states where it's low, you talked about the plan for contact tracing, the idea of it. Is it actually being done now, or is that still something that needs to be increased?
It needs to be ratcheted up, Anderson. We've got to do it better than we are now. Not that we're at
I'm on my way, though.
No one's made any mistakes, but they've got to elevate it to the point where when you have someone in society who is infected, you've got to not only identify them, but you've got to be able to isolate them very quickly. Not
wait, don't drink anything.
After they wound up potentially infecting individuals. So we've got to get that system where you identify somebody and as quickly as possible get them out of a situation where they may infect other people. That's what's called strict containment. And that's what we've got to do.
You see what I did right there?
Dr. got a lot of questions.
Oh, you got 3
Edward Sabatini in Miami sent in this video.
Hi, I have lupus, and I take hydroxychloroquine. I've been taking this medication for 3 years now. It's the only drug that can help me function on a daily basis. My 90-day supply is up in less than 10 days.
Yo, I'm about to show you my best triangle edit.
Tell
Ready?
me that they can't fill this prescription for me because this medication is no longer available in the marketplace. They went on to say that they don't expect to receive any more of this medication for the time being. All of this medication is being utilized in New York City for the COVID-19 test. What am I supposed to do when I run out of my medication less than 10 days from now?
Chicken bone skin tone.
Dr. Hachi?
Yo, kids right there.
Yes. I mean, that individual has a very good point. And
I called dibs on the kill. I called dibs. You got 10 kills.
That we should be giving drugs to people with diseases that we know it works.
Nope,
and
my
that's
kill now.
really one of those unintended consequences that's a negative consequence. Is that when you use the drug for something in which it's not a proven benefit, those individuals who need the drug for a disease for which there is a proven benefit could potentially suffer. The same way the individual that you just put on the program.
And Dr. Fauci, I mean, I don't want to make this political, but I mean, this drug was sort of described as a game changer. You understand why people may go out and want to get this drug. Pharmacies I've been talking to say they've run out in all their pharmacies. Was that just a mistake or too premature to present it that way?
Sanjay, I'm not going to cast judgment on that. You know that's not really helpful. I can just tell you what I have said all along, and I'll say it again. The evidence that works is anecdotal. It is not a definitive proof that drug works. Period.
Did you hear that?
All right, let's get to another viewer question. Oh, sorry, Anderson.
Did you hear what he said?
Monica Grenache Prince in Houston, Texas.
I heard a little bit.
Did you hear what he said?
Smell and taste of
I mean, I heard a little bit. Hey, helicopter.
And the person has an experience any other symptoms, what actions would you recommend they take?
Well, you know, the idea of having an impediment of smell is not really unique to any particular viral disease. There are a number of upper respiratory viral diseases in which that occurs. There have been some reports that there really isn't much you can do about it, but it could be a red flag that symptoms that you're not sure what they are, and you have a decrease in the sense of smell. You might want to think that's a possibility that it's an early sign of coronavirus disease. So that's something that's been well recognized with other viruses.
The next question comes from Larry Heyer in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Is there any mounting data on the effects of spring and summer temperatures and its expected impact on coronavirus and its transmission? Thank you.
There's no mounting data. Yeah, well, right now, I mean, the idea, the concept that when you're dealing with a respiratory-borne virus, that when you get from the cold to the warm weather, there's a diminution in spread. That is not unreasonable because we see that in influenza, and we see that with some of the benign coronaviruses, not obviously the novel coronaviruses. We are hoping, though it may not happen, that we will see that impact.
Don't push agency. Don't push agency.
The infection rate down. But you can't guarantee it because this is a brand new virus. And it may not act like some of the other respiratory viruses in which often you do see a diminution as the weather gets warmer. There's no guarantee that we're going to see that right now.
And if we do, that also means that as the weather gets cooler again in the fall and winter, it could come back. Is that right, Dr. Fauci?
That's exactly right, Anderson. And that's the reason why at the White House press conference today, I emphasized the importance to push ahead with the development of the vaccine and the development of drugs proven by randomized controlled trial. Because if that happens, you likely will see a cycling, a seasonal cycling. I would not be surprised, given the efficiency with which this virus spreads, that we will see a cycle.
Let's get to another viewer question. Dr. Fauci, Lewis Carson in Mansfield, Texas, sent in this video. Take a look.
Would, should, or could blood transfusions from recovered coronavirus patients used to potentially aid in the recovery of currently known coronavirus patients? Thank you.
Dr. Fauci, I think that's a convalescent serum, right? I think he's talking about it.
That's exactly correct. It would not be the first disease in which you've actually had some success with this. There are a couple of studies going on. One is convalescent sera. The other is the immune globulin from that sera. And the other is the development of monoclonal antibodies from an individual who might actually have recovered, where you actually can clone those B cells and get an unlimited amount of supply. The concept of passive transfer of antibodies is a sound concept that deserves a very serious clinical trial.
This next one is from Emily Mitchell in Charlotte, North Carolina.
I'm 25 and live in North Carolina.